the floating church of St. Nicholas the Wonder Worker, the only ship in the Russian Empire with a fully functional Orthodox church on board, 1910s. Chief Ranger Sam Woodring stands next to a house made of deer antlers in Yellowstone National Park, USA, 1928. A legendary moment in archaeology, the intact 3,000-year-old seal on the doorway of Tutankhamun's tomb, just before it was unsealed in 1923. A woman on the beach shows the lifeguard why she sunbathes topless, but it turned out that the sign was intended for men. USA, New Jersey, 1939. A doctor assists excited fans of the Beatles during their concert. USA, 1964. Egyptians try Pepsi-Cola, Cairo, 1946. Between 1932 and 1972, the U.S. Public Health Service conducted a study in which 399 African Americans were intentionally infected with syphilis. Scott Fahlman was the first to propose using emoticons as a way to express emotions when communicating online, 1982. A seller of intimate wigs, New York, 1860. Prostitutes would remove hair from intimate areas to avoid pubic lice. Accessories like these helped them hide venereal diseases from clients. The first pubic wigs appeared for sale in the 1450s. Native Americans getting accustomed to a car, 1915. English model Jean Shrimpton was one of the first to dare appear in public in a dress above the knee. In the summer of 1965, she arrived at the Melbourne races in such an outfit, causing a true sensation. Behold the very first wireless telephone, pictured here in 1919. A policeman and an elderly woman during protests against a new tax in central London, 1990. The crew of the Challenger space shuttle that perished in an explosion 73 seconds into flight. All crew members died, 1986. Illegal alcohol trade, Berlin, 1929. In the US in the 1800s, the side saddle was created so women could ride decently, which was also often recommended for treating hysteria. Seducing a guard, 1970s. A Coca-Cola advertisement, USA, 1984. Doctors bow their heads before 11-year-old Liang Yaoyi, who died of brain cancer. Upon learning of his illness, he volunteered to donate his organs to several people, saving their lives. Shortly before his death, he told his mother, "There are so many wonderful people in the world doing good every day. I want to be one of them." Hysteria at the funeral of Ayatollah Khomeini, the leader of the Iranian Islamic Revolution. The crowd of frenzied Shiites tore his shroud, taking pieces of his body as holy relics. In the stampede, the body was dropped and trampled 3 times. Growth-increasing exercise machine, 1931 photo. The Great Depression, USA, 1931. A policewoman removing 2 girls from the beach because of the improper appearance of their swimsuits, 1922, USA. A new oral X-ray device shocked everyone at the 1920 London Medical Exhibition. Miners packed into a multi-tiered lift, Belgium, early 20th century. Known as cages, these primitive elevators descended 1,000 meters deep. Cable snaps were common, turning the crowded shaft into a deadly trap with no escape. They even carried pigeons inside, living gas detectors that would drop dead if the air turned toxic. In 1931, Azubasu was discovered in Marrakesh, living naked in a cave and eating raw meat. The yellow press dubbed him the last Neanderthal, but scientists later linked his condition to microcephaly. Auschwitz concentration camp, the very furnace in which people were burned. Engineers and architects in the pre-computer design and drafting era, 1982. Homosexual inmates in women's clothing during corrective labor, Colorado, 1900s. How to touch a Frau for free and kiss her on the lips. All you had to do was become a Berlin policeman in 1946 and take first aid courses. Today we practice on plastic mannequins, but back then, volunteers played that role. Germany. Maria Mondel after her arrest by U.S. troops, 1945. She was a top-ranking official at Auschwitz-Birkenau, responsible for the deaths of over 500,000 female prisoners. A Dallas police officer holds the rifle that, according to the investigation, was used to kill John Kennedy, 1963. According to the 1897 census, only about 25% of the population of Russia had surnames. Also, many people did not know their age. Inflatable boats made of buffalo hide, early 19th century India. The man behind the blocks, Alexei Pajitnov, the inventor of the legendary game Tetris. Pearl Harbor, 1941. The beginning of the era of deception, a demonstration of inflatable bras, 1952. The Iranian Revolution, a crowd chasing and beating a supporter of the Shah, Tehran, 1979. King George VI of Great Britain was a very serious man, 1938. May Capone, wife of the famous gangster Al Capone, wraps herself in furs trying to hide from press cameras while visiting her husband at Alcatraz prison, 1929. When boredom strikes at the front, soldiers have to improvise. Here, French troops dressed as women entertain their fellow comrades along the Maginot Line, 1940. The attack on the Prime Minister of India, Rajiv Gandhi, 1987. During Gandhi's official visit to Sri Lanka, one of the soldiers in the honor guard struck him with his rifle butt. A revolver with a camera that takes a picture just before the shot for a report to the client, 1938. A notable four-year contrast of Abraham Lincoln during wartime in 1861 and 1865. Before Google Maps, there was a navigation helpline, 1963. The British colony of Zanzibar and the east coast of Africa. A tired nanny poses next to her ward named Farouk Bulsara, 1947. A quarter of a century later, the boy would adopt the pseudonym Freddie Mercury. Children's Carnival against child beating, with slogans, "Down with the Belt," and "No Place for the Whip," USSR, 1930. Quarantine warehouses for people infected with the Spanish flu, 1918. Protest against the law prohibiting marijuana possession, Vancouver, Canada, 1971. Eventually, Canadians succeeded, and nearly 50 years later, the country legalized marijuana, becoming the second country after Uruguay to do so. In the 1950s, Italy produced protective shoes for women. These shoes were equipped with spurs on the heels and toes so that women could protect themselves from persistent admirers. Dagestani duo. The husband rides on a donkey, the wife carries the whole market. Dagestan, 1936. Gangster Clyde Barrow once wrote a letter to Henry Ford, expressing admiration for the V8 model and promising to only steal Fords. The mass extermination of cats during Pope Gregory IX's time contributed to the increase in the rat population, which led to the spread of the bubonic plague, killing hundreds of millions of people. Oldest photo, 1826. Hitler's nephew, who fought for the USA during World War II. This man survived a fire on a sinking ship in 1871, leaving him with emotional trauma. 41 years later, he finally overcame his fears and nightmares and decided to go on a cruise on the Titanic. 66 years later, this soldier's granddaughter found this photo and was horrified to discover that her grandfather was a fascist who served in a detachment involved in mass killings. During World War II, the Soviet army used pigeons to deliver incendiary shells. The birds were dropped from planes with shells attached, which triggered when they landed on enemy aircraft. The absurd death of American dancer Isadora Duncan. Her scarf got caught in the rear wheel of a car, instantly breaking her neck. Nice. September 14th, 1927. During Prohibition in the U.S., it was illegal to produce, sell, or transport alcohol. As a result, winemakers resorted to tricks to survive in the new environment. For example, they started selling grape concentrates in bricks, labeling them with warnings. After dissolving the contents in a gallon of water, do not drink, not store the liquid in a closed cupboard, as after 20 days, it will turn into wine. A forest truck accident, where a log pierced a passenger car, Buffalo, New York, 1929. Shocked Soviet soldiers stand near a large pile of human ashes at the Majdanek concentration camp in 1944. Arrested black protesters, USA, 1959. Segregation laws forbade them from eating in white establishments. Border guards of East Berlin increased the height of the Berlin Wall by adding barbed wire to prevent attempts by residents of the USSR to escape to Germany, 1961. Older generations often speak out about the morals and conduct of young people, yet those same older generations had their own periods of rebellion and defiance of traditional norms. In the photo, Gorbals Pub, Scotland, 1968. Turkish teenagers marching to take part in the Battle of Gallipoli, 1915. Iranian Princess Anis al-Dowliya had 145 fanatic admirers, 13 of whom died from depression after her rejection. Friedrich Nietzsche in a psychiatric hospital, 1899. A dissatisfied Pole exchanges devalued banknotes after a denomination. After the exchange, he will receive one new banknote instead of 10,000 old ones, 1995. This is Dr. Katie Booman, the computer scientist behind the first ever image of a black hole. She developed the algorithm that turned telescopic data into the historic photo we see today. Lieutenant William Spreckley of the British Armed Forces is hospitalized in January 1917 with a shrapnel head wound and leaves Sir Harold Gillis Clinic in October 1920 with a significantly corrected appearance. A gruesome photo from the Soviet Institute of Experimental Pathology and Therapy in Sukhumi, 1975. Bill Gates, with a fortune of $90 billion and number 2 on the Forbes list, stands in line for a burger in Seattle. Homing pigeon being released from a tank during battle, World War I, August 9, 1918. Lee Miller, a U.S. Army frontline photographer, takes a bath in Hitler's Munich apartment, April 30th, 1945. Just before this photo was taken, she photographed the Dachau concentration camp. Nearly 80% of Soviet men born in 1923 died during World War II. A March of the American Nazi Party in support of Hitler, New York, 1937. In this touching photo from 1945, a little girl from France kisses an American soldier on the cheek on Valentine's Day. In my opinion, the photograph with the American soldier is quite ambiguous. If we recall that more than half of the civilian casualties in France during World War II were the result of American and British bombings. A mother pleads with the police to return her son after he was arrested during a protest, accusing the government of election fraud, South Korea, 1987. A wedding in a church destroyed by German shells, London, 1941. The first Briton caught for speeding. Walter Arnold was driving at 7 miles per hour, while the limit was 2 miles per hour. A police officer started chasing him on a bicycle and caught the offender, 1896. The cleaning lady at the Royal College of Surgeons of England tidies human skulls, early 20th century. The king of paparazzi Rino Barilari became the victim of an incident in Rome in 1966 when actress Sonia Romanoff attacked him with ice cream for taking an awkward photo. Patent sketch of toilet paper, created by inventor Seth Wheeler, 1891. The oldest virgin, Clara Meadmore, was 108 years old. Born in Glasgow in 1903, Clara died in 2012 and believed that her chastity was a major reason for her phenomenal longevity. God Save America from Communism, Boston, USA, 1950. Division of family property in a courtroom, USA, 1999. Even in the distant 19th century, cats were memes. Refusal of service for Soviet-made Lada cars until the USSR leaves Afghanistan, Canada, 1984. The bent prow of HMT Olympic after it rammed and sank. German U-boat U-103, May 12, 1918. Albanian refugees fleeing war, Morini, Albania, 1999. Frederick Patterson, first African-American car manufacturer. 1990s mugshot of corrupt LAPD officer Rafael Perez, linked to the Bloods, drug theft, shootings, and the murder of the notorious B.I.G., inspired Denzel Washington's Training Day character. Archive photo of the psychopath killer Harvey Glatman, who posed as a photographer. Women would come to him for photo sessions, but instead, he would rape them, take a souvenir photograph, and then the women would disappear, 1958. Nathaniel Morgan pulls a pig from a container located in a nuclear test zone in Nevada, 1957. The smallest car in the world, the Peel P50. It weighs just 130 pounds, 59 kilograms. Professional silent mourners attended the funerals of any wealthy deceased in Victorian England, 1896. Their duties were simple: to silently and sorrowfully stand at the entrance to the house, holding a staff with a bow. Passers-by, seeing the silent mourners, would be overcome with the somber atmosphere of the funeral. The first case of disqualification of an athlete for doping occurred in 1968. That year, alcohol was found in the blood of pentathlete Hans-Gunnar Lilienthal. Due to a pilot's mistake, supplies intended for a women's battalion were dropped. Southern Rhodesia, 1980. It is believed that if a person recognizes at least 25 historical figures depicted in this picture, they are already sufficiently educated. Thank you for watching this video until the end. I hope these photos impressed you. Some may have made you angry, brought a smile, made you happy, or perhaps even caused some negativity. Feel free to leave your comments and stay tuned for the next part. Don't forget to subscribe and like the video. Bye.